Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a for hire deck profile. So this deck is probably one of the most budget decks you can pick up in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! With everything in the entire main deck pretty much being printed as a common, which is really, really cool. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can comment part notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below because we have some awesome rewards for you guys, like getting your name description for every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado guys, let's get straight on into this. So if you're trying to pick up a really budget deck, I highly recommend that you picking up for hire. It's a really fun deck, and all the main deck like core cards like the for hire monsters and the for hire spells and traps you can pick up for around $10, which is very, very budget friendly for anybody trying to teach somebody to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Or that is just now getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! This is probably the deck for you. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Rafal, the champion for hire, which is going to be your main boss monster of the entire deck. So what Rafal does is if this card is special summon, you get to excavate the top card of your top cards of your deck equal to the number of monsters for hire you control with different names. And yes, they did it as a pun, like they're being hired in the card text. I think that's hilarious and it's great. So except another copy of himself, and if you do, you get to add one of the excavated cards from your deck to your hand, and also you shuffle the rest back into the deck. And when your opponent's monster activates a monster effect, you can quick effect discard a card, discard 1 card for hire, negate the activation, and you can only use the effect of this card once per turn. We then play a single copy of Wiz Sage for hire. Wiz Sage for hire is a good one of in the deck because if this card is special summoned, you gain 500 life points for each monster for hire you control with a different name, except another copy of Wiz. And then when your opponent's monster, or when an opponent activates a spell or a trap card or an effect, you can quick effect discard a card for hire, negate the activation of that card, which is pretty good to just negate a spell or trap, which is really nice that you have a monster negation and a spell and trap negation. We then play a single copy of Bravo. I've actually kind of broken down and bumped Bravo down to 1. Bravo's still a really good card, but with all the other tech cards that I'm playing in the deck for hand traps and stuff like that, I did bump Bravo down to 1. But what Bravo does is during your main phase, you can special summon 1 monster for hire from your hand. Just about all of your level 4 lower monsters share that ability that you can special summon 1 monster for hire. And if a monster for hire is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, then you can have all monsters for hire you currently control gain 500 attack and defense until the end of the turn, which is pretty good just to be able to give you that additional 500 boost. We then play 3 copies of Seal Strategist for hire. This card's really good in the deck too because during your main phase, you can special summon another monster for hire, and if a monster for hire is special summoned to your side of the field while you control this monster, you can target 1 for hire monster in your graveyard and add that target to your hand, which is going to help you a lot to be able to get you additional plays. We then play 3 copies of the single best card in the entire deck, and that is 3 copies of Beat Bladesman for hire. Beat Bladesman has the ability that you can add 1 monster for hire from your deck to your hand, which is really cool if another for hire monster is special summoned to your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Helmsman for hire. Helmer is really good because if a monster for hire is special summoned to your side of the field, then you get to discard a card for hire and then draw a card, which is pretty good to be able to just grab another monster or grab another card off the top of your deck that might be a different name. We then play 2 copies of Recon. Recon is really good because Recon pops set cards on the field, and then Dawnpa pops face-up cards on the field, which is pretty good to just get you additional pops on your opponent's side of the field. I really like that ability to get you additional pops of face-ups and face-downs, which is just really nice. And also getting you the additional ability of special summoning another monster for hire to your side of the field is really nice as well. We then play 3 copies of Flow Messenger for hire. Flow is really good because Flow during your main phase lets you special summon a for hire monster from your hand, and if a monster for hire is special summoned from your hand to your field while you control this monster, then you get to target a for hire monster in your graveyard and special summon in defense position, but place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field, which is still pretty good and helps you out quite a lot to get you into a bunch of different plays, like getting you into your copy of Falgo. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom in the deck as well. Now, the Ash Blossoms are where you get into a little bit of expense when you're building this deck. You can change them out for copies of Effect Veiler or any budget hand trap that you want to play. If you're going for a super budget build, you can drop these out and play a different copy of like Effect Veiler or something like that. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Called by the Grave, because you just have a single copy of Called by the Grave that you can play nowadays. One copy of Monster Reborn. Did I say one copy of Monster Reborn? You're going to get 3 more later on, so we'll see those in a minute. We're going to be playing a single copy of Instant Fusion, which kind of helps out with the... like Millenniumize Restrict, getting that onto your side of the field and getting out cards like Thousand-Eyes Restrict onto your side of the field to gobble up monsters. But it's overall a really good card. Again, if you're trying to go for a really budget build, you can drop this out and put Mind Control if you don't want to put in the copy of Millenniumize in the extra deck. You play a single copy of Reasoning in the deck. Reasoning helps out a lot because, as you notice, all your monsters for hire are different levels, from 8 all the way down to 1. So you have mainly level 4s in the deck, but your opponent can call all sorts of different levels, and you probably will not hit the same level as what they call. So for instance, they're usually going to call 4, but you're probably not going to hit 4. You're probably going to hit a 1 or a 2 or a 5 or a 8 or a 7. It just depends on what you hit, and then you get basically a free monster on your side of the field. Rhoda gets you a copy of Beat Bladesman from your deck to your hand really fast, and like I was saying earlier, you do have 3 extra copies of Monster Reborn in the form of Mayhem for Hire. So Mayhem for Hire is the in-archetype Monster Reborn that lets you target a monster for hire in your graveyard and special summon it in defense position, but you can only activate 1 Mayhem for Hire per turn. Really, really good card, really helpful for the deck. We then play 3 copies of the new for hire card, which is the reason I'm actually doing an update of this, and that is 3 copies of Rookie for Hire. So Rookie for Hire has the ability to tribute 1 monster to special summon 1 monster for hire from your hand or deck whose level is 1 level higher or lower than the tributed monster had on the field. And you cannot declare an attack the turn you activate this effect, except with for hire monsters, which is not that big a deal because mainly you're going for hire monsters anyways, which is kind of cool. But basically what this card does is, on paper, this card doesn't look that good. Okay, I do say that. But the reason this card is really good is because if your opponent effect veilers you or impermanences you or hits you with any hand trap, usually in this deck, your turn's over. But if you have Rookie for Hire and they impermanence your Beat Bladesman as you're trying to special summon an additional for hire monster from your hand, they impermanence it and then you don't get the summon, you can activate Rookie, tribute the Beat Bladesman on your side of the field, summon Dawnpa, summon Recon, summon Bravo, summon your copy of Seal. It depends on which one that you need for the particular situation that's going to help you out the most. But this card's really good because it helps you work around hand traps, and that's why I'm really glad that they actually printed this card. And it's a common too. I mean, it makes the deck even more budget, and it's just a good card. So that's it for the spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of There Can Only Be One and 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, which, like I said earlier, if you want to drop out the Impermanence, you can drop out the Impermanence, play Effect Veiler, play Ghost Ogre, play whatever you want that's more budget in your particular instance of what you want to play. There Can Only Be One, I highly recommend playing in this deck because it has the ability that each player can only control 1 monster of each type, and if a player controls 2 or more of the same type, they must send monsters to the graveyard so they only control 1 type. Now, if you notice in this deck, you control different types. For instance, you have dragons, spellcasters, reptiles, beast warriors, aqua. You have beast again, and wing beast. So you don't really have any same types in between any of your monsters except for beast, which is Dawnpa and Recon, which is kind of cool because they're all work really well with your copy of your There Can Only Be One. This card's really good and really helpful in the deck to be able to lock your opponent down, and it doesn't hurt you in the least bit. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Falgo Justice for Hire. This card is the best card in the entire deck and has a crazy good effect that lets you get multiple draws. That has the ability, it cannot be used as link material. Oh no, that's not a big deal. The boss monster can be used as link material. Well, guess what? Bardige can't either. What this card does is really good. That if this card is link summon, you can special summon 1 monster for hire from your with a different type from the 3 monsters used for this card's link summon from your deck in defense position, which is usually going to be Raphael, which is the Justice for Hire, or the captain, the big captain of the ship, the champion, him. You're always going to summon him so you get excavations off your deck, and you special summon him in defense position, because you're usually not going to use him as a material, so you're either going to summon him or Wiz off of the copy of Falco. And then it has the ability also that if a card your opponent controls is destroyed by battle or by card effect, then you get to draw a card. Then, if you control 3 or more monsters for hire with different names, you get to draw 2 additional cards as well, which you're already giving yourself 1 card on the field with Falco. You're giving yourself an additional special summon. So as long as you have 4 monsters on the field before you summon this card, you're going to get to draw 3 off this card, which is ridiculously good. We then play a single copy of Access Code. Now, a lot of the extra deck you don't have to play in this deck. Access Code comes in handy because it's a good additional pop card, but you don't have to play Access Code if you don't want to play Access Code. You can play something like a Boral Load instead. We play Boral Sword as well, just to give us additional OTK potential, which I do recommend playing the Boral Sword. Appaloosa, because you can put multiple monsters on your side of the field with different names, which is really easy to go into Appaloosa. And this card just did get 2 reprints recently, so it's really budget. 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn, because it gives you additional spins. Phoenix, because it gives you pops to spells and traps. Cerberus, because it can pop monsters. IP Masquerena, because it helps you go into your copy of Appaloosa really easily during your opponent's turn and protects it from your opponent's card effects. Link Revo, because you play Flow and you play your copy of the Instant Fusion to go into Millenniumize. Relinquished Anima, same reason. You play level 1s in this deck, so why not? Abyss Dweller, because it's probably one of the best rank 4s in the entire game, and it's really easy to use in this deck. And number 60 as well, because you can detach 2 cards from this card to draw 2, discard 1, revive a card from your graveyard, or double the attack of a monster, which can be really helpful. And then a single copy of Millenniumize Restrict, because you use it with your copy of Instant Fusion to lock your opponent out of hand traps, essentially, for a little while you're trying to summon your monsters for hire. So, and also it's a different type, so you can use this card to go into Falgo, which is really cool because it's a spellcaster, and it just comes in really handy. So, that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun, crazy, cool deck to play around with. I will mention, if you don't want to play the Impermanence, you can drop it for 3 copies of, I would say Crackdown would be a good budget option that you could play instead of the Impermanence, because Impermanence is like 20 and Crackdown's like 3. If you want to play Crackdown instead, if you want to drop the Access Code, you can play Boral Load. If you want to drop the 3 copies of Ash, you can play 3 Effect Veiler. And that'll get you to probably the bare bones basic, like, probably budgetest deck you'll ever build in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So, anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below, because you guys have those awesome words, you guys, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.